Welcome to Many Hearts Make Light Work podcast. We are inviting progressive thinking in reimagining and reinventing strategies that make work lighter. Let's renovate old ways of thinking so we can open new doors. Hi everyone, it's Michelle and Gill here for another podcast on Many Hearts Make Light Work. We're super excited to be doing another deep dive into lie number 2 from the book 9 Lies About Work by Ashley Goodall and Marcus Buckingham. Hey Jill, how are you going?
Hey Michelle, great to be on episode 3.
I know, can you believe it?
It's exciting, isn't it? Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's just going to be, part of our everyday normality now. Just jumping on and doing these podcasts is so much fun.
Yeah, it's just happening, and it's hopefully, I think as we grow with our podcast, it takes a life of its own on. We try and encourage that with understanding the internals of business. So this podcast is and of itself its own entity. So I'm excited to see how it shapes itself and grows and evolves as well. This week, we've got our wonderful topic of the lie, the best plan wins. So we're going to smash that lie into smithereens, I think. From what we've both read, I think we both agree that on this one being a definite lie, the best plan doesn't always win. And we'll talk about what really the truth is in a minute. But I love their opening, talking about if life was like Ocean's 11 when they had everything planned down to the minute. Mm-hmm. Everyone did their thing at the precise times. If anybody's ever seen Ocean's 11, you'll know what I'm talking about here. George Clooney's team is precision based, isn't it? No room for error.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely no room for error. Mm-hmm. Interesting. An interesting analogy on the best plan wins.
Yep, totally. Because it's like everybody had their job, everybody performed it to perfection. Yeah. And it went off without a hitch, and supposedly, and supposedly they get away from the casino vault with, their millions of dollars. And I like how when Ashley and Marcus break this down into reality, and they say all the things that could have happened, all the decisions that could have changed. They might have listened to the culture of their workforce saying, look, we need more work-life balance, we need a hot yoga studio, and and they could have ended up in a vault, in a hot yoga class instead of a vault.
Yeah, absolutely. The reality is so different.
Mm-hmm. It is.
To this made-up story.
Yes.
That precision and planning is always the best option.
It's like we think of that planning as success, don't we? We think, I'm going to get the best plan. I'm going to do this and that's going to work and it's beautiful. And how many of us have started a diet and not lost the weight because something happened and we were so fixated on our plan that we just threw everything out the window.
And then the amount of time that we spend on the plan. Think about that. I mean, there's an awful lot of time from an organizational perspective. There's a lot of time spent on planning.
Yeah. God, yeah. And meetings to plan. Yeah. As well. Like let's plan and have meetings and I think that we've all, I can concur in the book where we're all thinking about why the hell am I in this meeting? Like, this is a waste of time, and internally eye rolling.
Oh my goodness. How many times have you rocked up to a meeting and thought, what am I doing here? I've got so much on my agenda today. I could really be actioning some of the tasks that I've got, that I'm engaging. Why am I in this meeting? Like, what are we doing here? And a lot of it will be, some of it's fun. Some of it's fun to be a part of. But when you're trying to plan what's next best, is it necessary? That's the biggest question.
It's very
necessarily needed here.
Yeah, it's very soulless and dry, isn't it? Right? It's unnecessary and it's. I think in the book they call it stale at some point. It's like your goals change so quickly that they become stale, and we're all working towards something that doesn't exist anymore. And I actually, I wrote down here in the book, I'm scribbling all over the book, and I said, can plans gaslight people into a reality that they are not really in?
Yeah, wow, yeah.
That's Absolutely. What came up for me. Like, oh my God, we're all working towards this goal, but we don't believe in it. It's so outdated. It's like, why?
Well, how necessary is it? This is the thing. Whose goal is it? Right? Whose goal is it? And is it aligning well with the greater team? Yeah. And is it actually, in fact, aligning well with what they're supposed to be doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
I mean,
what they're passionate about, even what they could be doing things like in a creative way that we haven't even thought of, but we haven't given them the space to do that.
Exactly.
Look at us doing a podcast that, you know, is talking about topical issues that could attract people to what we're doing, but we have a soul cry to talk about this for ourselves. And absolutely, by unlocking that in your talent, you find that you get so many suggestions to get to where you want to go so much quicker and so much more, like uniquely, diversity, inclusively.
Absolutely. And just even from us there again, just to kind of bounce back to us, because I like to do that every week, but even from us, we didn't really put a lot of planning into this.
Nope.
We spoke about it twice, I think. And I think I mentioned to you that starting a podcast was something that I'd always thought about. Right. And in my head, I would be planning, but I thought, well, I'll start that off when I perfect it, because we all do this, right? So it's part of us, it's in us all. But I thought we'll do it when we perfect it. I'll get my green screen sorted, and I'll make sure the lighting is perfect, and I'll, have everything ready. And when that happens, I'll start. Now, the reality is life is busy, business is busy, we get caught up in our everyday. And you said, Michelle, well, why do we have to wait for perfection? Let's just start.
Yep.
And that in itself saved me all of that time in planning and prepping. We'll still do that. No doubt it will change and grow, and we'll have more perfect situations, as the time grows. But it certainly doesn't mean that we have to stop talking about it and communicating what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
And starting the podcast. And instead of sitting around talking about it and planning and creating meetings and wasting all of that time, we've just started.
Yep. And I just literally have been underlying things that really jumped out at me in the book, and thought, well, you know what, I'll just talk to those and the rest. We've got so much that we already talk about that's lined with it. It'll just slot in when it needs to, and it's really, I just want to thank, Ashley Goodall and Marcus Buckingham for the framework of the topic material for us, though, because I feel like it really got me, like when I first read the book, and well, actually when I first saw some videos on the material, really got me. And I just knew that they were so invested about wanting this to work for people, like wanting people to be, and businesses to free people to connect with their organization from a heart. And so I just knew, oh my God, there's just so much we could talk about. So I'm so glad that we ourselves are practicing what we're preaching, and that moves me into talking about that this is more about trusting the intelligence of your team, trusting. That's what we're doing here, aren't we? We're really trusting the intelligence of each other. The best plan doesn't win, the best intelligence system wins. And if we trust each other, and we trust each other's intuitiveness and intelligence that we're going to bring, that will naturally froth out of us as we go. That's what really wins, in my belief. Not just for the podcast, but for each other, for feeling supported.
Absolutely. And it's leveraging that wisdom, isn't it? Because when we're setting up a plan or a meeting, let's say, where there's a space in there that brings us to telling people what the best way to do things is. When if I'm setting up a meeting, I'm setting up a meeting for the most part to tell you what I think will work best. And we all sit around and we talk about our agenda, and everyone has their items, and you share with me, if I'm the business owner or the CEO or the director, whoever it may be, the team leader, whatever it may be. And I'm sharing with you what aligns with your idea of success, because that's what we're planning. The plan is so I can keep everything in check.
Yes.
Right. But when we actually open that up and ask the team to bring their wisdom to the table, we don't need the plan. We just need them. We just need to encourage them to share the information that they've got at hand. What do you think?
Yeah,
those snippets of intelligence can give us so much more than a planned wasted event or time in micromanaging the entire process.
Yep. And you know how we were talking about last week, how, that teams matter, not culture, because culture's elusive. It's like pinning Jello to the wall. Teams are more about actually like really getting to know each other and how each other work and unlocking talents and valuing each other. When you actually have that kind of meeting, it's a different than eye rolling meeting. It's more like those quick catches. What do we all think? And you've got that more sort of and I as I said, I underlined the key words for cool meetings. A good meeting. It's open to anyone. It's democratic. It's about giving updates, asking questions. It's spontaneous. It's frequent. It's brief. It's shared fast, and it's together. And those words, yes, just like, why do we have to be so formal? Why can't we just go, what do we think? Group think tank. What do you reckon now? What it does is it invites people to let their guards down. And I reckon it opens them up to more information intuitively, because when people come into a position where it's very formal, and everybody would be able to say this when it comes to interviews, right? I'm more formal. I'm all locked down, really.
Yeah, sure.
You're not really trusting your body or your intuition or your mind, and thoughts that drop in that are hard to get to when you try. They're just there when you're relaxed. And if we, as a team leader, as a manager, as a group, if we're allowing that for each other, wow, that's success, that's security, that's trust, that's an intelligent system.
I've got examples I'm going to share with you, actually. I've decided just last minute there that I'm going to share an example of a really good, wisdom sharing time for me when I was not a senior in an organization, but I was beginning. Okay. I was part of this medical practice, let's say, who the manager was actually really good. I don't even think she knows that I think that. She would have known back then because I would have told her, but it's something that stuck with me for a long time. And we were hiring new people to be part of the team. Now, remember, I was a team member. I didn't hold any authority whatsoever, other than the fact that I came into work and I'd done my job. But what I loved was she set up interviews for the new team members. There was 3 new people starting and going to be part of our team, or 2 or 3, I think it was 3. Anyway, started interviews. And before the interviews took place, she sat with me and said, these are the candidates that have approached. And these are why I think they might be a good fit for us. Would you mind having a look through them and seeing what you think? Tell me what your thoughts are.
Yep.
Now, here I was in a situation who'd never really done that before. It was many, many years ago. But for some reason, she thought it was the best idea to give me the candidate profiles to have a look through and bring to her what I thought would be, or who might be a good fit and so on. And I felt so empowered by that one move. The fact that there was no meeting about it, there was no planning, there was no setting up, there was none of that. It was just a very brief sitting in our office. Yep. Jill, would you mind going through these and letting me know your thoughts? It was so simple. I thought it was so clever.
That's lovely.
And she did. We did. I went back to her, went through all the candidates and had a look through. And I said to her, thank you so much for for sharing that with me. I feel that was like such a really good project for me.
Yeah.
And she subsequently went on to hiring one of the candidates that I felt was I'm still connected to that person today. So it's really interesting. And she's still in the same industry.
Yeah.
She's still in, she actually is one of my best friends these days, but and we've been friends ever since. And it's an incredible thing, because there was absolutely no planning about that one move. It was a snippet of wisdom that I was able to share with her that turned out to be a really, really good choice. And, she built a team there that didn't really want to ever leave.
That's crazy.
So it's just interesting, right? Like, it's just such an interesting thing. And I've had the flip side of that, where I've been brought in from a senior management perspective, on a team where I was taken in to support and help them understand the frictions within each practice. Let's just bring that to you, right? So the frictions with multiple practices, why are we having problems with all of these practices? Well, it turns out, without going into too much detail, there was a lot of meetings, there was a lot of planning, there was multiple practices meeting in various places across Australia. And one of the key problems that the team would say and bring to me was that the amount of times that they would spend in meeting gave them very little time to do what they needed to do within the organization. And the planning was all a micromanaging tool. So nobody was bringing their true self to the practice every day, and they were just so tired and withdrawn. And that was the information that I had to leave with the senior team eventually. But that wasn't taken very well, mind you. But I had to give them the honest opinion. The reality is, all they needed to do was to stop the planning and meeting agendas and take a break. So it's just interesting. There's two scenarios.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I love that example. It's so good. And I think like those two questions that were are really great two questions to ask if you're a team leader, to keep learning, like from week to week, more and more about so we're not micromanaging. The two questions are that the best team leaders ask their team is, what are your priorities this week and how can I help?
Yes.
And so, and in that situation with that wonderful, person who asked you to do that, I think it's similar in saying, hey, you're able to do this, and, what are your thoughts? It's an invitation to see, oh, wow, are you able to step up to this? And I'm curious and I'm interested. And that sort of energy behind what you were asked to do is really, really quite, just such a trust building exercise. At the very least, it was a trust building exercise for you. And wow, I just saw you unlocking a little part of yourself, though. It was like, so this is important. Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's amazing what you can get from a team member.
Wow.
When you give them a little bit of trust.
Yeah, I love that.
And when we ask them to bring their wisdom to the table, we can assume that everyone that's working on our team is intelligent enough to be on our team. Okay, so they're here for a reason. Why then would we pigeonhole them to not be able to be their best self? I mean, I just don't understand that whole process. I was shocked back then. I was very young, so I wasn't expecting it, but I was so grateful to be a part of it and to have that opportunity. Because it wasn't really the done thing back then either. I mean, I make myself sound like I'm 105, but, let's be honest, employment has changed over the years, and how we work within a team has significantly changed. It's just we now know that it needs to change more and more significantly, so we can at least align with, employment and
leaders can be healers. Like I look at that as more than just an opportunity to step up. Like I look at that as reclaiming a part of yourself you didn't even know existed.
Well, that's
and look where it's led you in your life. And so when leaders understand exactly how much power they actually really do have in either oppressing their staff member or like building their staff, opening them up to unlock stuff basically that's already there. Wow, that's so awesome. And
it's huge.
And that's really like, when we talk about performance reviews, and we have these questions, and we will cover that more in this book, but this kind of, for me, is like, you as a team leader, you're not waiting for that performance review. You're actually inviting a person into something ahead of that to see if that's something that they'll shine in. And you're being intuitively intelligent by doing that as a team leader as well. You're not sort of saying, well, I have this plan and this is what's going to happen with this person's performance. It's more, no. I'm going to trust what I feel this person's capable of. Because I think we get caught up in job descriptions to the point that it ties us in knots. And what we do is we lose sight of an actual person's strengths that could actually change the role, reinvent the role to be more of who they are, that brings more to the business.
Yeah.
So that kind of intelligence, I think, is, as a team leader as well, is important to trust ourselves to unlock, to support.
Yeah, I do think so. And I think that we should be encouraging our team members to do more than what the job description on paper suggests. I mean, the job description to me should be used as a guide only, right? And I really also think that it should be used as a guide only in those first few months of employment, right? Like, so when you're finding your feet and you're getting to know who's who, it's really lovely to know, okay, well, I'm still understanding the organization. I'm still understanding what it is that what my job really is here. So it gives you a guide to kind of follow while you're in that learning space. But I think we definitely should be encouraging our team to, once they're in and they know the organization and they know who the rest of their team members are and their team leader, and they understand the personalities and so on, to kind of push the job description aside or the position description aside and branch out a little bit. Branch out. How do they grow if they stay confined to what's on the paper? And the other thing is, by doing that, it gives you, again, it's all about intel. I know I speak about that a lot, but it is about intel. When you're encouraging your team members to step outside their position description, you're going to know if they respond well to that or not. And oftentimes you'll get roadblocks with that. They'll say, no, well, that's not in my position description. So you instantly know this is somebody who's enticed by the idea of growth, or who is actually quite comfortable in their space and potentially has done all their growth and they just don't want to go any further. It gives you opportunity to know more about who your people are. Right.
And it may be that they don't feel like they're going to shine. Maybe they have a block there. It may be that that question that we asked last week, which was, I know what is expected of me. I think it was, I know, let me just double check that one just so I've got it. Because that if they know that what's expected of them is for them to shine and be their best selves, and that an exploration for that is okay, then that's awesome. But if they don't, I'm at work, I clearly understand what is expected of me is that, and if we as a team leader are saying, this is your job description, but as a person to a person, as a human to a human, as a believer in you, I'm going to say, I expect you to be honest with me and transparent about what your strengths are, what bothers you, what you love, what you don't love in the work. And so then that way we can work together to potentially create a new job description that works better for the organization. So there's always that.
Absolutely. And, you're going to have a mixed bag. You should have a mixed bag of responses. We should have a mixed bag. If everyone is on the same trajectory, we're in trouble, right? And I think if everyone is also stuck, we're in trouble. But we're dealing with people in lives, and people in lives bring a whole range of different circumstances to the table, right? So, but most importantly, by just having that wisdom approach, or bringing the wisdom to the table approach, at least it gives us the intel to know where we stand with each team member, what work we need to do with each, and also who are keen to grow from here. It's almost like the low-lying fruit, isn't it? It's low-lying fruit. I mean, here you might have 2 or 3 team members on, within, who are eager and keen, but just don't know how to kind of take that next step. But by almost hanging on to that and saying, okay, well, I'm going to give them the opportunity. I'm going to put the opportunity in front of them instead of creating the plans and the meetings around what it looks like. Let me just throw it at them and see what happens. And here you go. You end up with, instant change within the team. I mean, I just think it's just the way to go.
Yeah. And also if you come up against a roadblock with somebody, that could be your roadblock. They might be perfectly happy just doing X, Y, and Z, and they don't want to shift out of that.
That's right.
And this could be true for them because they just absolutely adore it. Like what we wouldn't, often they say you hire people like you, which isn't always a good thing, because there are people in the team that are doing things completely differently, and that is okay. Like you said, like you should have a variety of answers to that question. And they might be, you know what, they might be challenged enough in their home life, in their like relationship with their pets, who knows, they might have a relative that's dying. They just want a simple, task oriented job right now. And that is very supportive if we hear that and we support that. It doesn't mean they're not growing. It means that might be growing in other ways, but we're missing that because we're judging their work. And there might be so much more that's going on outside of work that we're not really tapping into or supporting, because we haven't bothered to really connect with them as a person.
And that's the thing, we will have people on the team who will have probably done 40 years of work already. This might be their passion project. They're coming to work because they want something just for them. Work is not necessarily paying their bills, but they're there because they like being at work and being part of the team that they're a part of, right? So but that doesn't mean though, so there's that, and that doesn't mean though that we can't use their wisdom. Just because they don't want to grow any more than where they are already doesn't mean that they wouldn't have a whole host of, wise, strategies that they could bring to the table.
Exactly. And, I do want to speak to the model that they mentioned about how when they were trying to win the war against Hitler, they had to change the strategy, and this is how they won the war, is that they created a room that had so much intelligence coming in real time. They had like 8 whiteboards. They had 4 lights under every whiteboard that had meaning. Then somebody would read that and put it on a map and move a thing and see where the altitude was. And oh my God, it was like this moving like piece every 5 minutes. I think the clock was broken up into 5-minute intervals. And so this whole story was moving all the time. And the people, instead of the commanders knowing the intelligence and reading what was going on, the people that were moving the bits were able to feedback, this is what's going on, and they were able to make the informed decisions actually on what to do when. They were given that power because they were not near, how you'd look at, they're down the line. They were literally the people that could read the intelligence straight away. So the way they won the war was by trusting the intelligence of the people that they had given the power to, which was very different from being the general making the decision.
So interesting, isn't it? Like, it's just such an interesting concept when you think about it. They had this agile approach, and nothing was tied down or locked in. And they really leveraged the intelligence in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's it. They leverage the intelligence in the room.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm all for peace and everything. But when I read that, I was just like, oh, wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And also it's fascinating because when it comes to that war, it was all about oppression, and it was all about not being diverse and not being inclusive. And it was about overruling. And the way they won it, like the intelligence of the people, like it just speaks volumes to how we're evolving our consciousness, really. And how are we going to win at business? And how are we going to win at recruitment and all those things if we don't actually learn to tap into the intelligence system of our people? And our people, like you've said, and we can mention it again, post-COVID, are tapping into so much more of their intelligence internally, because their wisdom is unlocking. They've taken time. This is happening, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I look at it as in a way that, when we are thinking about the team in itself and everyone within it, there's so much more value in those micro rituals that we create within the team. There's a lovely trust that comes from rituals. And those rituals can be that, they become more aware about the team members, right? So that whether it be the team leader or even the team members, encouraging the team members to be part of those rituals and asking, so what is it you think? If there is an idea that everyone is doing that doesn't become something that's robotic.
No,
it's just normal. It's ritual.
Has to be more spontaneous. I remember I was working for a recruitment agency and we had to have this huddle every morning and I hated it. It was the worst thing that could have happened for me because I just wanted to get on with my job in the morning. Like my thing is I'm in some kind of weird zone in the morning. Let's go boom, 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 and I get all this stuff done. Yeah, I don't want to talk to, seriously, I don't want to talk to people at that time of the day. I just want to, I've got so much coming through me that I need to let it land, that having conversations with people, it doesn't work for me. So you've got to be really careful as a team leader. What you think is going to be bringing your team together as a ritual can be really counterintuitive. It certainly was for me. I couldn't get any work done. It was almost like I lost 2 hours of my morning just by like this 10-minute huddle thing. But I like what they talk about in terms of being frequent and frequency with your meetings, and catch-ups trumps quality. We don't try and do catch-ups perfectly. Do we? Like you and I, we're like, well, when can you do it? I don't know. Or we'll do it later.
Well, it's not planned most of the time. That's the thing. Like it's something that we just it falls into our day. We, we'll have something that'll pop up and I'll throw it at you and say, what do you think of this? Or you'll do the same thing with me.
Yeah.
And it's what I would encourage, and what I encourage with my clients and the people that I place is that they fall into the same way. A lot of the time it's the managers that I'm that we're putting in those roles. So it's again not about me or us finding those people, but it's about us finding them and teaching them a better strategy for success when they're in their leadership roles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so some of this is, ditch the Monday morning meeting if you can, but actually create some rituals that would be more micro focused, So, how are you today? Or, how was your weekend? It can be simple as how was your weekend? What's on the agenda for you this week? And as you said, what's in your priority list?
And how can I help you with that?
And how can I, those simple things can give you so much information. And it can even tell you if there's nothing on the agenda. Okay, well, maybe we need to put something on there. That's okay.
Yeah. What could be? What do we think? Invites that conversation. And also, having been a counsellor for so many years, one of the things that I've noticed that people are really out of touch with, and we could probably all attest to this in relationships, with men saying sometimes that women expect them to read their minds and things like that, is that we're really out of touch with our needs and actually knowing our needs, stating our needs, and asking for help with our needs. And so that's a common thing for a lot of us, especially being givers. We're so used to giving. So as a team leader, if you're asking the question, hey, how can I help you with that? What we're inviting is we're actually inviting someone to receive support in the right way. And they might not know what they need. They might not have a clue. They can't verbalize it. They can't articulate it. They go, I don't know. But you know what? That's an opportunity for your healing right there as a team leader, to help your team member to learn how to be supported. Because they might just be a doer and just have no clue how you could support them. They might turn around, and probably someone like me would say, oh, don't worry, Liz, leave it to me, I got it. But then along the way, because you asked me, that'll stick up there. And then I go, oh, actually, Gill can help me with this. And you know what I mean? Like I might not know it straight up.
I know. And then the other thing is that's a personality thing too, isn't it? Where I'm a bit the same. And I would be like, no, don't worry about it. Everything's good. All good. No, I've got it. I just do that. And then I end up getting loads of things. I've got it for a million tasks. And eventually though, when we're doing those little reach outs, what happens is when it becomes an overload for the person who's the overdoer, at least they can trust the process and go back to that person and say, actually, I don't got it. Can you help me? I don't got it anymore. Can you help me? Right? I thought I got it, but I don't got it.
That could be a really good T-shirt slogan. I don't got it.
Actually, I don't got it.
The actually is good because it kind of preempts the fact that you thought you did.
Well, or that you've answered somebody and saying, I got it.
Yeah,
but actually I don't got it. Yeah, that is a good tip. We might have to get those made up.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't got it.
And on the back of the t-shirt, we could put, I feel supported now.
Yes, exactly. See, that's the thing. Yeah. And so just having that ability to go back and say, actually, I don't got it. Can you help me with some of these tasks?
Yeah.
You know, you'd never do that if you weren't asked to begin with. And you'd also never do it if you had to wait for Monday morning meetings.
No, exactly right. It takes you like a long time to realize what you need sometimes within all the competing needs of the business and other people and you're comparing your needs versus their needs. Oh, I don't need anything because they need more. And goodness gracious. But
go on. Look at us getting excited.
I just had to say something else about that. That one of the things jumped out in the book was, and if it's sort of in the way of what you're going to say, but it was just about how many team members a team leader should have. And they say only have as many as you can cope with to check in with them once a week. And they reckon that was an average of about 9. And if people couldn't check in with 9 genuinely to have that conversation of what are your priorities and how can I support you with that, then like just make it what it is. And that's the ideal number for a team leader. So in working out that number, it's very much about who the team leader is. And also, does that work with your business model as well?
Yeah, definitely. No, absolutely. And, and that makes sense, doesn't it? That there's a specific number around what that looks like from a team leader perspective. And of course, if you're starting out as a team leader, that wouldn't be the number at all. So there'll be a whole variety and ranges of where that sits. And I just think that's interesting. Like, it's a really interesting concept. What I was going to say was the I keep saying the Monday morning meetings, but there's often times where Monday morning meetings is Friday afternoon meetings and Wednesday lunchtime meetings and meetings after work and meetings before work. And sometimes and oftentimes, and I've seen it, because I've been a part of it, where there's been so many meetings that it's just a drain. It's such an absolute drain mentally. And I don't know how you could expect anyone to show up with any level of wisdom at all.
You're at the end tolerating it.
Oh my goodness, you're just there for this because you're just there because you have to be. But it's just so counterintuitive to the entire process of what our team is about to begin with, like it just seems like such a waste.
Dumbing down the intelligence rather than activating it.
Yes, it is. Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. It is exactly that.
Well, gosh, we've got to leave it here. I think because we could talk forever, couldn't we, on this one?
I know. We really could.
But I want to speak to next week. So we're going to be unveiling a line number 3, which is the best companies cascade goals. And we're going to be talking about the truth rather than that lie next week as well. So I'm looking forward to that, Jill. Are you?
I am so looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to all the episodes. These book chapters are amazing because they really speak to what we do every single day with all of our clients and candidates that we work with. So I'm also looking forward to those kind of the deep dive into why we're here, and there's so much that we can talk about. I know. And then, of course, in the coming weeks, we'll have guests on the show as well, which is wonderful.
And I'm looking forward to my little rookie co-host taking the reins at some point so that she can build her skill set that she has expressed that she'd like to do. And I want to absolutely support her with that in any possible way I can. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm used to talking. I'm just, usually not the one organizing these types of recordings. So I'm excited about that. So next, let's say 2 or 3 will be most definitely Jill taking the reins.
It'll be fun. And I'm always a support. So it's all good.
I know you are.
We love you all. Thanks for listening, and we hope that your heart has been activated through this episode as much as ours has. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.